Damn, the Facebook freeze effect. Weekly Q&A. Vex of weekly Q&A. That's a terrible impression, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. So, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I don't really have a big build-up for you, so let's get into the questions. I hope these are some questions that, by the way, are relatable where you're at in your agency, or maybe even sometimes a couple steps ahead, so you get some useful nuggets out of them to help you build your own thing. Kevin asks, what's working best for y'all right now? Paid advertising lead gen or organic lead gen? Kevin, both. Why make it an either or? If you want to build a real stable business, build lots of legs for your table to stand on. Sorry, there's a fly I'm swinging at. I'm not just crazy-handed. But I'll tell you, Kevin, if you're starting out, if you got money in the bank, go straight to paid ads and use your budget and your money to figure out making your offer work as fast as possible. If you don't, do organic first, and then you don't even have to get into paid ads until you know it's working. And that's actually one of our secrets is like almost always when we take an ad to paid ads, I've already tested that offer like a whole bunch on organic. What's up, brother Pomeroy? I know you've been doing some craziness in your world just with all the citizenship battles. That's a hell of a journey you guys have been on. We're on kind of something similar, actually, looking at some land here up north. But yeah, so Kevin, like what I would say is like I know people say you got to run the Facebook ads, you got to run the YouTube ads. Everybody's got their one thing, but if you want to build a real stable business, like think more like a table that stands on multiple legs, so that if one of those legs fails, your table's still going to stand up. And you can have extra legs on your table, in your business table. It can be an 8-legged table, so that when one of those legs falls. So I think once you get your offer dialed in, you want to do them all. Facebook ads, YouTube ads, organic, direct mail, networking with these people, speaking events, like do all of it. But start with, I think, organic if you don't have the cash, and paid advertising if you do. Aaron, who else is sick of ad accounts being banned time and time again? I'm not the only one. No, Aaron, you're not the only one. I've kind of talked extensively about this, so I'm just going to make it short and sweet. Appeal, get into other platforms, convert it to traffic you control. If you want, I can reference some of the other videos, but this topic we've kind of a little bit beaten to death. So, but no, you're not the only one. Amit, helping a friend with his ads for tax return services. We're getting a 3.5% click-through rate, but no conversions. Any pointers on anything I can do to improve this? So, Amit, one of the things that's hard to tell in advertising is most people don't understand that there's a lot of vanity metrics, and one of those vanity metrics is click-through rates. And I'm not saying click-through rates aren't useful. They're useful, but they're not the whole story. The biggest hidden metric in all of it that you want to look for in your paid ads is, are the right people coming out the other side? So one of the things that happens often is if you think of your ad as like a bouncer, it could just be letting the wrong people into the nightclub. So like for me, sometimes I've ran ads that like appeal to beginners. Like often if you run like claims of how you made money, it appeals to the people who've never made money, right? So you get all those people in the door, and then you find maybe you might get the wrong people, but I would have a really high click-through rate. Another possibility, by the way, is just that there's a mismatch between what you're saying in your ad and what they're clicking on. So I see this a lot in retargeting. I can remember a company I was traveling, and I looked up some place, and then they retargeted me with like, I think it was a Chicago trip, and they retargeted me for like 2 years. But when I would click on the Chicago trip ad, it would bring me to the generic homepage of their website, and the colors of the ad and the page didn't match, and not even like the logos and the branding. So there were always like a moment, I'm like, did I even click the right fucking ad? Like, did I just miss it? And so that's like one of the reasons as well that click-through rates is congruency. So double check those things, congruency. But I'm going to tell you, the best thing you can do to make this really easy is just make a really fucking awesome tax return offer for his services, and make sure your ad speaks to the right people, and then you'll notice, because most likely you're just running a generic, hey, we do tax services, here's a form, call us. But if you make an actual offer, like if you're running around, like look at H&R Block, and I'm not saying you have to go they're at the low end of the spectrum, but they do, tax returns for $49 or whatever like that. That's an offer, right? So make one. Chris, any restaurant marketers in here, what's the best way to grow your subscriber list? I started a VIP offer program for this restaurant, was wondering what is the best way to get people to opt in. Should advertise the program or advertise a specific offer to get them to opt in, then let them know they have been enrolled into the VIP program. I have a few ideas about how to keep those customers coming back. Would love to hop on a call with anyone running ads bots for restaurants. Thanks. Chris, Christian Sawyer's in the group here, and he does a bunch with restaurants and has a whole system. He's worth speaking to on this subject. But I'll give you my take on it. The best, like we want to think about not just getting a list, which by the way is very useful and you're doing the right thing, but especially when you're starting out, building that list where no list exists, the people I most want on that list are the customers, the existing customers. So to me, the best way you can build a list is put a little insert right at the table that they can do on their phone, or right at the takeout counter, or as a pamphlet you can do if they do like delivery, so that when people get the food, but you want it, the first people you want on the list are the customers. So to me, like, it can be any offer. It can be a free dessert for next time. It can be half off. It can be $6.99 chicken wings. It doesn't really matter because you can endlessly create new offers just to get them on the list. But the customers are the first people you want to get on the list. And that's the thing restaurants really struggle with, by the way, is bringing people back. And all businesses, by the way, not just restaurants. If you run somebody else, that's their real challenge too. But you do that, and you'll make those guys profitable real fast. Ite, how do you recruit talent? Our agency is looking for an ads manager who understands and could advise on creatives as well. How would you go about it? Our niche is wellness. Any ideas or leads would be greatly appreciated. All right, here's thing number one, Ite. I hope I'm saying your name right, I-T-A-Y. It sounds like Ite. I'm sorry, brother. So here's the thing with recruiting talent. Let me first tell you what not to do, which is what everybody else does, which is they interview a bunch of people, and then they say, tell me about your past experience, and the person gives them their resume, and then they go, all right, you're hired, and then they try each other out and see how it goes. That's the worst way to hire. That's how average majority end up with all these like B and C level players that are okay, but not really great. So the best thing that's helped me is to think more of your hiring process as an audition hiring process. And if you think about this, like, I'm a musician. I've got a broken guitar over there in my living room right there that my kids broke. And one of the things you do as a musician is you don't interview people. Like when somebody comes in to join your band, you don't say, hey, let me interview you and we'll see how it goes. And then you hire them. You play together. You make a song together and you feel each other out by actually working and collaborating together. So the best thing you can do is create a small little first date where you guys can test working together. And I'll tell you why it matters, because there's some people who interview really well and are shitty employees. I'm one of those. I'm a shitty employee. Some people interview really poorly, but are actually great employees. And then to make it confusing, there's people who interview really well who are great employees, and there's people who interview really poorly and are shitty employees. So you can't really tell anything from an interview in the way most people do. Now, as far as where to get them, you can just go to groups, you can go to Upwork, you can go to things, but set up like a little first date where you can try each other out. And I would suggest getting clear on your company values, because you're looking for somebody to advise on creatives. Like, what does that mean? Are you looking for somebody to give you ideas or to create them, and you want them to come up with their own ideas? Then like that's job number one for me. If you want them to come up with their own ideas, our trial assignment is come up with an ad for this. How would you target it? How would you do that? So, yeah. Max, how long did it take you to sign your first client? Max, well, the actual signing the client took about 5 minutes, but I actually started in 2007, and there was no books, there was no anything. I had to kind of make a lot of mistakes, which I got very good at. And I think it took me almost 2 full years to get my first client. Not quite 2 full years, but I had that whole time like the asshole father-in-law, like, why don't you get a real job? Why don't you get a real job? Don't you want like a stable living? And it was a weird time in the economy, because I don't know if you guys remember 2008, but there was a crash going on, so it wasn't like even that easy to go out and get a job. Like there were layoffs galore in my area, and yeah, it was a kind of rough time. So it took about 2 years, but once you crack it, it speeds up. Like I always say, it's harder to go from 0 to 1 than it is to go from 2 to 10. And it's harder to go from 2 to 10 than it is to go from like 11 to 50. Because 11 to 50 is like, you're just using the same process that you used like a bunch of times already. Greg, for those offering paid ads to their clients, do you only do one specific marketing channel, for example, only Facebook ads or Google ads, or do you offer a complete paid ad solution of running their paid ads across multiple channels that you see working really well for them, meaning you do their Facebook ads, Google, Snapchat, et cetera, et cetera? Greg, it depends on how you're set up. We actually are running 2 different offers in my agency with lawyers right now. And one of them is like motorcycle ads, which is specifically just Facebook ads. And it's like a whole like email sequence and things like that. And then I'm running a new offer that I'm testing out that I call digital omnipresence. And that's where we're on every platform, like literally as many of them as we can possibly be, and just like retargeting people galore. So what I think about when I do that is also the deliverability. Is like, can I create one system that I can reuse again and again and again per client? And if you got that, then it's really up to you which one you want to do. I don't necessarily think about like, I think about, can I realistically deliver it and systematize it and organize it? And this is going to be badass value for the client. You combine those two things, you can do whatever you want. Your dad sounds like my dad did. He's come around since then, but wow. Yeah, dude, I've realized from us talking we got loads in common. Cigar, what's the best way to make sure the leads you're getting actually converted? Most of the leads are bad leads. They're not picking up the calls or replying to the messages. How to avoid that? Thanks. Cigar, there's SAGAR. I'm not like cigar, like the smoky thing. Sorry, I'm bad with unusual names there. So usually, I'll tell you, Cigar, whenever I hear they're all bad leads, that is a red flag of bullshit. Very rarely when people tell me they're all bad leads or they're all bad leads. So the first thing is like, what is the process you're using to bring them in, whether it's organic or paid ads? That's the first thing. And like literally the first sentence that you're using there, if you're legitimately getting bad leads, then you're calling out the wrong people in that first sentence. That it like literally is beginning in the wrong place. But in your case, it sounds like they're not picking up the phone and things like that. And that's a combination of two things. One of those, usually in my experience, is your offer is just kind of generic and bland. Like if we're going to meet together for SEO, I don't know, I know like 1,000 other SEO people, so I'm not like super stoked to talk to you. So you got to like make your offer unique and valuable. I wrote a post in the group about mini monopolies. I suggest you check that out if you haven't already, because it's really, really valuable on that subject to like kind of just get out of the box of what everybody else is selling. And then the other thing is there's not enough pre-selling where they don't have any relationship or connection. So one of the best things you can do if you want to eliminate no-shows and people not picking up, this was the best tip I ever got on it. We did two things. Used Zapier and Sly Broadcast to send them a voice message, and the voice message was just like, hey, just saw you booked with me. I'm really stoked. Want to let you know what's going to go down on our call. Back in the days, obviously, when I used to do calls, I don't anymore. But want to let you know what's going to go down on our call. Here's the 1, 2, 3 things you're going to get out of the call. And then right after they booked, we would forward them to a page with like massive amounts of proof, so they could see like, okay, this is an actual useful solution. You do those two things. You put in the automated phone call, and you put in the like here's proof that our stuff works, and your no-show rates will go almost to zero. At least they did for us. Swido, what is your best social and Facebook ad manager reporting tool for multiple clients' ad manager accounts? We currently use Swido, but their pricing model has changed. Here's the thing. I used to be really tool obsessed, and like I tried them all, especially like when I did SEO, like every reporting software, like, hey, and what ended up happening inevitably was always the same fucking thing, which is clients are like, okay, what does this mean? Because they're not technical oriented in the first place. They don't even sometimes know the terms like click-through rate and all of those kind of things that we use every day. Like to them, it's like a foreign language sometimes. And so inevitably what ended up happening is one of two things. One, they didn't understand it and they kept quiet about it. And that was the worst one because it meant they didn't understand what they were buying. And they were like, okay, I don't know, it seems to be working. And then you don't want those kind of clients. You don't want I shouldn't say you don't want the clients, you don't want to leave your clients in that kind of frame of mind. And the second one is they would ask and say, I have no idea what the fuck this means. Can you translate it in English? And after having that conversation probably like 100 times, like, I have no idea what this fucking means. Can you just translate it? And I kept switching tools. I just started making that my reporting. And now that's how we do it in our agency now, is I just send them a little 2 to 5 minute Loom video. Here's what we're doing. Here's why we're doing it. Here's how it's going. Here's what's coming up next. Got any questions, let me know. But otherwise, here's your update. And they're the least technical reports in the world. And I'll tell you the biggest reason why I do it that way, because it allows me to batch it. I do them every second Friday, and I like talking with my clients, but I could easily outsource this as well. But it allows me to do a bunch of clients in a row in an hour or two. And in the old days, when they used to ask me, can you explain this, I would have meetings all over my calendar, and so it could take like 40 hours to explain it to every client. But now I get to do it on my own time, so I get to batch it, and it takes me an hour, and the clients love it because you get to show them what's going on. So I would think less about tools and more about, here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it, here's how it's going, here's what's next. And your clients it'll be the best reporting situation you ever use, and you don't need to pay for any software for that. August. Does anyone know how to build a sales team that works mainly on commission, struggling to figure out how to build one effectively and scale my business? August, if you're struggling with sales teams, I'll tell you it's more than likely 2 things. 1, you don't have incoming leads. 2, you don't have a proven offer to convert. You get those 2 things in place, incoming leads and a proven offer, and what'll happen is every salesperson will want to work for you. If you say, hey, I've got incoming phone calls, so you don't have to go out and prospect and do all those things, and we've got a proven offer so you can just step in and sell it, you won't have any problem finding good salespeople. Having said that, you should write a decent ad and post it in some sales groups. Say, I'm looking for this kind of person. But if you mean a commission salesperson where they got to go out and prospect for you, and they got to go and call people and knock on doors, and then they got to sell your offer, which isn't proven to convert, that's not very appealing to good salespeople. Like, hey, I'm going to go chase a bunch of leads for a small percentage for an offer that's not proven to work. So you bring the value, like, hey, we have a funnel or something that's working to generate incoming interest, and you just have to take the phone calls and answer questions and those kind of things, and we've got a really good offer. You bring those 2 things, you'll have all the salespeople you'll ever need. How many clients do you have at one time? I've heard the goal should be 8 to 20, but I'm curious what everyone else is doing. That's from Jaden. Jaden, firstly, I think the worst advice you can ever do is get caught up in what everybody else tells you that you should want or have for your agency. I've been all over the spectrum, from like having like 1 or 2 really big clients that represent all your income to hundreds. I say, like, actually, no, I shouldn't say hundreds. Probably the most clients I've ever had at any given time is around 120-ish. And I've done that a couple of times. And all the spectrum in between it. And let me tell you, it's really up to you what you want to do. So depending on where you want to go, like I always say, like the stages of agency growth. If you want just like a small thing that you can just run yourself, then you can do that with 5 to 10 clients. And you don't need any more than that. If you just run into a little lean operation that pays your bills, you don't have to work real hard, that kind of thing. If you want to have something that's more like, $50,000 a month generating you're going to at least have a team to manage that. And if you like working with people, then you should shoot for that. And if you want to be like one of those people, like we got a couple people like that in our mastermind that are just, they're insatiable. They're going to grow as big as they can possibly grow. Then you're going to need like managers and teams and systems and like that. So it really depends on what's fun for you. You can go past those in the levels of agency. For me, I kind of like just like a good solid level 2 business that has high profit margins and that the profits are reinvested into investments that grow. And that just like makes for a really cool lifestyle. It's good enough money. I don't have to work too hard. I get to spend time with my kids. That's where I'm at with it now. But as my kids get older, I might get crazy again and try and grow like a 100-person 200 client agency. So it's just strive to be better than what you had the day before and worry less about what anybody else said is the magic number of clients you should have. Nick, do you plan your day ahead of time? If so, are you a morning planner or a plan the night before type of person? Yeah, for the most part, Nick. I work off of like to-do lists. That's how I roll, like that. Just a whole bunch of lists of things, and then as I get ideas, I just write them down, and execute them in an order that makes sense to me. I don't know if I'd like really detail plan them, but I'm big on making to-do lists. But I think it's a real key, by the way. When I make to-do lists, and I think a lot of really good entrepreneurs do this, I see it as a choose to-do list, not like a have to do. It's not like a list of things given to me by a boss that I must execute. These are things that I want to make happen. So choose to do is just a more powerful frame of mind than have to do. This one's from Juan. Frankie Finn, how does the Beyond Agency retainer works? In the book, you wrote something like, you mostly do email and direct mail campaigns. Is that what you do for them only? Do you repeat the gratitude campaign with different offers? I kind of answered this a little bit in your post, Juan, but I just wanted to expand on this a little bit. Remember, and this is like so key, is like you don't have to build somebody else's agency. So the first thing is like when I send campaigns, it's because I like it, because it's like it's easy for me to do. It has a big effect. Clients love it, and I don't have to get into all the tech for a lot of it. Like email campaigns are significantly less tech than setting up a Facebook ad campaign. Like you gotta set up their pixel and verify the domain. Can you get me in the business manager, in the page, and then now we gotta create an ad account. You gotta do your credit card. Like there's like 8,000 steps to set up a Facebook ad account. Your email is like, can you just send me the login and that's it. That's the steps. Send me the email and the password, and I'll go in there and I'll write some emails. Is that all right? And for that reason, I tend to like those a lot more. But like, there's no have-tos in any of this, right? So there's only ever 3 ways you're going to get paid from clients. You're either going to do I shouldn't say only, but like most likely, you're going to do a retainer where they're paying you like a flat fee every certain period of time. You're going to do a completely revenue share where you get paid on the results, or you're going to do a hybrid. And you see the hybrid a lot in e-commerce where like, hey, it's $1,000 a month plus 20% of your ad spend or whatever, 15% or 5% of your ad spend or whatever. But by the way, you can do hybrids in any industry just because people don't typically, like one of the simplest things you do is just take ideas that are working in one place and bring them in others. So you do the one that works for you. Just know that the easiest one to sell is the revenue share. The hardest one to sell is the ongoing retainer, but there's merits to doing all of them. It just depends on your situation and what you're trying to do. So, and then as far as your question about the gratitude campaigns, here's the thing is like, how often do we go to a business, give them our money, and then they come back and say, thank you. That was like, we so appreciate you as a customer, and we'd love to have you back, and we'd love to do something cool for you. And the answer is never. And when those rare times it happens, like people talk about it, it's like just that cool. So here's the thing is like, you can run gratitude campaigns forever. Like people do not get sick of being appreciated. In fact, Dan Kennedy and GKIC, who's like a legendary marketer, ran a survey, and they just asked the question, to customers. They said, why did you leave the business you were going to? And 77% of them, they said they just felt ignored, appreciated, take it for granted, like their business didn't matter. It was indifferent if the business went ever. So like that's the number one reason people leave. If you ask 5 customers, 4 of them will say, because you didn't care and you were indifferent to me. So the gratitude campaigns address that, and you can just run gratitude campaigns forever, and all you do is just change the offer. Paul, I've got my first sales call today at 11. I guess I'm a little late on that. I've got a few questions I plan on asking to know about his business and goals. What are your go-to questions for these short calls to get them on a strategy call? Paul, just a little heads up. I did a YouTube video where I've actually got a script for that, and it's from a good friend of mine, Connell, who does like a high-ticket kind of agency offer, and I don't know, he's through his script sold like 16 in a row. Like any kind of script that gets you 16 in a row is usually a good sign. So you can use that. Having said that, like the best thing you can actually do for a strategy session, I'll tell you, is to take 10 minutes and look at that person's website and look at their social media and figure out who the fuck they are, and to show up more educated about them and what they're doing before you get to the call. Because that's actually the best place to start, is in what they're already doing, is like saying, okay, I checked out this, I checked out that, here's what I see. Do you want to let me know what you're looking to do? And so there's really only like 2 things you're going to do in the questions. You want to know what problems they're looking to solve, and you want to know what outcomes results are they looking to create? That's really all a sales call is in a nutshell. It's like figuring out, here's the problems I'm trying to solve, here's the outcomes I'm trying to create, and like what's that like kind of thing in the middle that they don't know how to fix. And that's where you bring in the kind of expertise. So all you're really looking to do in a sales question is like, hey, tell me like what you guys have tried already. That's a great question to ask on a sales call. What have you tried? And then when inevitably they say, we hired this SEO guy, a great question to follow up with it is like, okay, if you don't mind me asking, like, why didn't that work? And again, now if you look at the solution side of it, like great kind of questions are like, okay, what would you like it to look like when it's done? I want my phone to ring and people to say, hey, I saw you on the internet and I'd like to buy your services or whatever, right? So you get all that cleared up and their why. And I think I got to go right here because that's a Zelda bee waking up. So I guess that's the last question. I did have one more, but baby's waking up, 25 minutes. And mommy's out right now. So that's all I got for you guys. And may the force be with you. And if you got any questions for me, go ahead and shoot them to me in the inbox, or you can post them in the group. And that's all I got, guys. Much love for you.